So you think owning 0.01 Bitcoin isn't a big deal? Here's the truth. Even if you hold that tiny amount, you're ahead of 99.95% of humanity. That's more rare than being a millionaire, owning beachfront property, vintage cars, or fine art. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the 7 levels of Bitcoin wealth and helping you visualize just how rare those small holdings are. Because the door to Bitcoin ownership is closing fast, and most people won't understand what they missed until it's too late. I'm Brandon from Green Candle. I've been in Bitcoin for nearly a decade now. Let me show you something. How many people in the world own Bitcoin? Take a guess. Maybe 15%, maybe 5, maybe 1%? Wrong. This big picture of the earth represents the 8 billion people who own 0 Bitcoin. And that tiny Bitcoin logo, that's the amount of people that own 0.01 Bitcoin or more. It's so small you could barely see it. That's 0.1% of the entire world's population. 99.9% of people own 0 Bitcoin or less than 0.01 Bitcoin. It can be easily overlooked if you're comparing yourself to Bitcoiners with large stacks. But zoom out and you'll see just how rare you are. Here's the context. There's 21 million Bitcoin total, fixed. No one can inflate it. Just over 1.2 million left to be mined, and there's an estimated 1.57 million that are lost. So that leaves just about 18.5 million Bitcoin in circulation. Divide that by the 8 billion people in the world, you get just over 0.002 or 200,000 sats. So if you hold more than 200,000 sats today, you're above the global average. This is truly a scarce asset. Scarcer than gold, real estate, Apple stock, and most collectibles. I've reworked the wealth tiers into something more relevant. What you're riding, from a bicycle to a private jet. Level 1 is the bicycle. That's equivalent to 0.001 or 100,000 sats today, which is just under $90. You're moving under your own power, humble, but you're on the road. So where do you rank? Top 0.1% of humanity. 23 million people globally. If you lived in New York City, only 8,400 people would be at your level of Bitcoin. That's less than Madison Square Garden's capacity. So what does this unlock? Understanding. You're learning. You have skin in the game, and you can move to level 2. That 10x jump from $90 to $900 worth of Bitcoin, that's a bicycle to a Vespa. Yet most people never make this jump. The Vespa, 0.01 Bitcoin or about $900 worth of Bitcoin today. You've stopped pedaling. You've got a motor. So where do you rank? Ahead of 99.9% of humanity. 14 million people globally. If you lived in Los Angeles, only 2,000 people would be at your level. That's one small concert venue. Here's how rare it is. There's 62 million millionaires in the world and only 14 million wallets with 1 million Satoshis or 0.01 Bitcoin. So owning 0.01 Bitcoin is 4 times as rare as being a millionaire. That's rarer than owning beachfront property, vintage cars, or fine art. So now moving to level 3, a 10x from 900 to 9,000. This is from a Vespa to a Honda Accord. This is where most people stop. The Honda Accord or 0.1 Bitcoin, just about $9,000 today. This is serious wealth positioning, more than the average American has in savings. So where do you rank? Above 99.99% of humanity. 4 million people globally. If you lived in London, less than 1,700 people would be at your level of wealth. That's one small Premier League stadium section. So what does this unlock? A seat at the table. You're positioned. People at this level stop checking price. They think in Bitcoin terms. 0.1 Bitcoin will always be 0.1 Bitcoin. As the world figures out there's just 21 million Bitcoin, your position will become more valuable. So moving to level 4, that's a 5x jump from 9,000 to about 45,000. A Honda to a Tesla. This is where it gets hard. The Tesla Model 3 is like owning half a Bitcoin or about $45,000 today. Bitcoin is now a significant portion of your net worth. So where you rank? Still above 99.99% of humanity. This is less than a million people globally. You're 1 in 11,000. If you lived in Hong Kong, only 650 people would be at your level. Fewer than the multi-millionaires in this powerhouse of a city. So here's the math. Only 21 million Bitcoin exist. Only 42 million people could theoretically ever own half a Bitcoin or more. And most of those spots are already taken. People at this level think long term. They're not selling in this next bull run. They're hodling for the decade. Now moving to level 5, that's just a 2x jump from 45,000 to 90,000. Tesla to Lamborghini. The holy grail. When Lambo, right here. Now, if you're at level 3 or 4 and you need cash without selling, that's where today's sponsor comes in. Salt Lending lets you borrow against your Bitcoin without selling it. Selling means you drop down a level from a Honda to a Vespa. With Salt, you keep your position and get your liquidity. So check out saltlending.com/green-candle or the link in the description, and they're going to give you an exclusive offer for Green Candle listeners. But now for level 5, the Lamborghini. The meme, the dream, yellow, loud, scissor doors, and Lambo. Right here, right now. There's only 325,000 of these people globally. If you lived in Chicago, there would only be 110 people in that city at your level. That's one corporate office floor. So here's the math. There's 21 million Bitcoin. There's 62 million millionaires globally. Even if every millionaire wanted a Bitcoin, they couldn't get it. There aren't enough. Most millionaires will never own one Bitcoin. One out of the 21 million, that percentage never changes. Now, moving to level 6, this is where things get interesting. You're not driving anymore, you're on the water. If this is surprising you, make sure you hit the like button and tell me what you're writing down in the comments. Share this with someone who doesn't realize just how far ahead they are. The Yacht, 5 to 10 Bitcoin, that's $450,000 to $900,000 today. Generational, family-changing wealth. You've transitioned from land to water. There's less than 350,000 of these people globally. If you lived in New York City, only about 175 people would be at your wealth. That's less than 2 subway cars. So what does this unlock? Financial independence. You're already wealthy. Bitcoin is about preserving your wealth outside the traditional system. People at this level think in decades. They're not selling at 100K. They're not selling at 500K. They're holding until Bitcoin becomes a global standard. Now, moving on to level 7, the last level. This is another 10x jump from 900,000 to 9 million. You leave the water, you're flying private. The private jet, this is 10 plus Bitcoin. 900,000 plus today. You're in the air, your jet, your schedule, your airspace. There's less than 150,000 wallets globally that own this amount. If you lived in Los Angeles, only 25 people would be at this level. That's half an executive boardroom. So who's here? People who bought early at 100, 1,000, or 10,000, or institutions, family offices, hedge funds, or sovereign wealth funds. This unlocks influence. You're a stakeholder in Bitcoin's future. Your decisions matter. At 100 plus Bitcoin, you start to influence the market. People at this level rarely talk about holdings. They don't need the validation because they've already won. At this level, self-custody isn't optional. It's essential. If you're at any of these levels, you should be holding your Bitcoin in self-custody. Trezor hardware wallet is the best place to do that. You can get it at the link in the description where you can hold your keys and hold your Bitcoin, so no exchange can freeze it. Then you need a metal backup that's fireproof, waterproof, and crush proof. You can get that at cryptosteel.com/greencandle, and you can use promo code greencandle for 10% off your entire order. At these levels of wealth, keeping Bitcoin on an exchange is like parking a Lamborghini on the streets of LA. Trezor for your Bitcoin, CryptoSteel for your backup. The links are in the description. Here's the full Bitcoin garage. Level 1 is a bicycle. Level 2 is a Vespa. Level 3, Honda Accord. Level 4, Tesla. 5, the Lambo. Level 6, the Yacht, and level 7, the private jet. Now let's compare this to traditional wealth. Holding 0.001 or 100,000 sats, just $90 today, is like having $1,000 in your savings account. You're in the game. Having 0.01 Bitcoin is equivalent to a top 5% net worth. That's about $500,000 in assets. But you did it with just $900. Then for 0.1 Bitcoin, that's like being in the top 1% globally. About 1.5 million in assets. But you did it with just $9,000. Half a Bitcoin or $45,000 today, that's like being a multi-millionaire with $3 to $5 million in assets. One Bitcoin is like being in the top 0.1% of wealth, about $10 million net worth equivalent. 5 to 10 Bitcoin, that's like being ultra wealthy in the $30 to $50 million worth of assets. 10 Bitcoin, that's like being in billionaire level scarcity. Here's the kicker. Traditional wealth takes decades. Grinding careers, building businesses, climbing the property ladder, legacy financial systems, or inheriting. Bitcoin offers another path. Not easy, but with time, discipline, and long-term thinking, anyone can climb the ladder. No trusts, no banks, no permission, no existing wealth required. The door is still open, but not for long. In 2017, 0.1 Bitcoin cost $1,000. Today, it costs nearly $9,000. In 2030, it may be $50,000. The bar is still relatively low, but as adoption grows and supply tightens, these tiers become harder to reach. One day, owning 0.01 Bitcoin could be like buying a Manhattan apartment in the 1960s. A decision that seems small now can be legendary later. Most people won't recognize this opportunity until it's gone. But if you're watching this, you get it. You're early, you're rare. You're playing a different wealth game. So what are you riding right now, and what are you aiming for? Did you realize how rare your Bitcoin stack is? Let me know in the comments. I love reading them all. If this video helped you see your position differently, hit the like, subscribe, and share it with somebody else who's stacking. The garage is real. The levels are real. The door is closing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys at the next one.